Hey guys, Jack here. As always, before we get started, a very special thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon. If you guys want to go donate to our channel, just $1 or more will get you early access to all of our content, as well as other special features. Now, a little disclaimer before this episode, I'm not the only one who's discussed this topic, and this is very much an improvised episode, just me spewing out what I want to discuss. And if you want to see a more in-depth research video on this topic, go check out Lindsey Ellis's video, My Monster Boyfriend. It was actually a bit of an inspiration for us to do this episode. Thank you all so much for watching, and enjoy the show. The following is a fan-based video review and discussion under fair use. All copyrighted clips and music are owned by their respective rights holders and distributors. Please support the official releases. Hey guys, what's up? It's BigJackfilms here, and welcome to another review and a brand new Let's Talk. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Well, it's the month of Valentine's, everybody. The sun is out, couples are spending more time together, and I would go out with 18 today on a nice little date. But unfortunately, she's still on her diplomatic mission to get us more allies. For almost a year. Times have not been very favorable to the multiverses lately.
All around me are familiar faces.
But to make up for it, it's the month of love, so why not talk about one of my favorite romance genres that I am most fond of? A tale as old as time, and a song as old as rhyme. Beauty and the Beast. What is it about this area of story and as a genre that still sticks with audiences? For me, it's one of my personal favorites when it comes to telling stories, and in the arts in general. So, for the Valentine's season, I figured I'd discuss its features, flaws, and history mostly in the realms of film. The first thing we should discuss is, where did this particular genre come from? Well, for the most part, the title alone is mostly credited to the iconic fairy tale novel from 1740, La Belle and la Bête, by French storyteller Gabrielle Suzanne Barbet de Villiers. Just rolls off the tongue. It alone adapted countless times in literature, on stage, and mostly on film. The most famous being the 1946 film by Jacques Cocteau, the 1987 television series starring Ron Perlman and Linda Hamilton, Hellboy vs. Terminator, oh my god, that sounds awesome! And of course the 1991 animated Disney film to critical fame and being the first animated film in history to be nominated for the Academy Award for Best Picture. Which honestly, in of its own, is an amazing achievement for both Disney and animation as a whole, given at the time it was mostly aimed as kid stuff. Oh yeah, and I can't imagine what America thought of Japanese content back in the 80s in the pre-anime boom. Still traumatizing as fuck.
It was beast killed the beauty.
According to sources, Gabrielle's influences in writing the novel was to teach young girls the values in humanity and not to be judgmental on outside appearances. I mean, let's be honest, nobody is physically or mentally perfect, and the lesson is a respectable one, and used the novels of storytelling of the 17th century to enlighten the attention of readers. In terms of film, the Cocteau version is the most famous in terms of historical significance when it comes to film, and if you want a more detailed insight on the film, check out the 3-part comparison with the Disney film on Brows Held High. Having watched the Cocteau film, it is visually stunning in all the right places, taking many influences from the iconic artwork of Gustave Doré, who, funny enough, was also an inspiration for creating the jungles of Skull Island in the original King Kong. So you gotta give credit to Cocteau for his direction with the camera. However, as a child of the 90s, the Disney film was my first introduction to the upfront story. It's a great film and worth all the praise, don't get me wrong, and while I prefer other animated Disney films, I can't help but still really enjoy the charm and chemistry with all the characters. But the genre's biggest strength here is in its chemistry and dialogue between the two leads, and it does build up a story between two misunderstood characters both mentally and visually. Much like Belle, I couldn't help as a child watching it on VHS that the Beast was a terrifying visual. Hell, it's still a terrifying creature compared to that bastardized remake.
Why is that not a surprise?
But of course, over time, I started to understand the character and see the redemption qualities as Belle did. While the original version of the story, I can understand why people like it, I much prefer other versions of the genre in other works of art. The story is so timeless that, yeah, it becomes a genre of storytelling in and of itself. Hell, it stems all the way to the early days of the horror genre in film back in the silent era, the first being The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, bringing to light another version of the genre, creating a cliché for horror films, with the monster taking interest in the girl who he has no business with and becomes the monster's downfall. Although as a side note, this trope, along with the overall downfall of the Beast, can also be the cause of their self-visual judgment as well. I won't go too far into it because it is a sensitive subject for some, but for television, the genre takes the visual beast to more human deformities.
Beauty and the Beast. Every girl tries it once.
I've seen countless times, mostly in crime dramas, that the Beast is represented as a form of a mental disability, which ranges from fair to just stereotypical. Shows like Cold Case and Criminal Minds a few times have made the Beast either a framing device for the crime so that the killer can get away unscathed, or a giant brute with a low IQ. It does the job of sympathizing with the Beast, but falls short in creating a stereotype that does more harm than good. Seriously, dramas, you either paint them as a monster, Leo's performance in Gilbert Grape, or friggin' smart as X-Men like a goddamn superpower. How about just making them, oh, I don't know, people for fuck's sakes?
You know, a lot of experts say that being on the spectrum isn't really a disorder. That's actually the next step in the evolutionary chain.
Oh, fuck off! But despite that subject on its own, human deformities is something we can relate to mostly in classic horror films. Probably one of the best examples in film history is, of course, with the Phantom of the Opera. Unlike Creature from the Black Lagoon, Frankenstein, or even the Wolfman among others, the Phantom of the Opera is the most common to this day, starting with the 1925 film starring the legendary Man of 1,000 Faces, Lon Chaney. Compared to the original Beast, this one wears a mask to hide his disfigurement. He does it in order to fit into society and to obtain his love. It brings a whole other level to the genre and being something you're not in order to be accepted, which a lot of people can relate to in a world where people can still judge you negatively for who you are and what you don't understand. Even past Beauty and the Beast, Disney has done this a few times with the likes of Aladdin, wishing the genie to pretend to be a prince in order to impress the princess and not feel like a low-class citizen. But in terms of being accepted into society, even DC has done this with the likes of the Joker and the Penguin, whether it be born from deformities or wearing a mask to hide the internal ugliness.
It's as though we were made for each other.
Your Beauty and the Beast.
Of course, if anyone else calls you Beast, I'll rip their lungs out.
But back to the Phantom of the Opera. Much like the Beast before him, the Phantom still stays relevant with the infamous musical created by Andrew Lloyd Webber, even getting a film adaptation by Batman and Robin director Joel Schumacher. Now, I might be a minority on this, and given I'm not the biggest fan of musicals, I actually kind of love this film. It's definitely a story that is really up director Schumacher's alley. The production design is fantastic, the sword fight in the snow is pretty kick-ass, and yeah, that song is pretty damn good. So the Beast in terms of a character has gone from animal to human. But not much of Beauty has changed. I mean, yeah, they give her different personalities with each rendition, but physically, it's still the same, and to be honest, given the novelist's original intent at the time, nowadays what the open-minded people have in the culture changes for the last few hundred years, yes, it gives girls a lesson on not looking for the visuals, but the heart of their own goals in love, but it does give a few false narratives for men watching the stories. Not just the feeling of unworthiness, but potentially even an ego for unrealistic expectations of what to look for in the right woman. This, of course, makes the male demographic potentially becoming another cliché in the genre. The jock, the bully, or the downright bad boyfriend. But unfortunately, it's been rejected, disgraced, publicly humiliated. Why, it's more than I can bear. What for can we help? Discard it? Never. The jocks, they gotta pull themselves together. God, it disturbs me to see this cliché tossed out and thrown in the dumps. Every classic film has this great cliché, even when flawed with full lumps. There's no other content that keeps it afloat, unless it's on Family Guy. But there's one that's inspired the best, and it's not very hard to see why. All want to be like Gaston, strong and fit as Gaston, get entitled to women as hot for Gaston, with an ego as high as a dick size rating. Don't be a douche like Gaston. And boy, does this cliché in the story have its many incarnations, and I frickin' love it. The bad boyfriend cliché is just so fun to watch for how sleazy and villainous some can be. For the Beast, it's the alpha rival and makes a great battle for dominance, and despite the looks of the Beast, it raises the question, who is the real animal or monster?
Bill is mine!
You guys know these ones. Biff, Billy Nolan, Biff, Arrow, Buford Mad Dog Tannen.
Nobody calls me Mad Dog.
The mayor of Whoville, Crone, even though they're brother and sister, that's fucking weird, and...
I didn't.
We'll get to him in a sec. However, to the point, if the beauty is still a perfect visual representation, it might leave too much expectations on those who actually do suffer, they themselves giving into the dark side of deformity. Hell, I'd even argue that there haven't been many adaptations where the genders are reversed. How often have you seen or ever a version of the story where the Beast is female and the beauty is male? Other than parody of the genre, I haven't. The closest I found were comedies like Shallow Hal, or even to the extent Shrek pulled this off. The only problem in Shrek is that the ending is a bit of a cop-out. Beast doesn't get beauty, Beast gets beast on both sides of the agenda, mind you. And I don't know why not many versions of this story have tried that. It would set a good example and lessons for men that the right girl doesn't always have to look like a Sports Illustrated model. I mean, for fuck's sakes, is everybody's mindset like the witch in Robin Hood Prince of Thieves?
She's right. She will give us a son.
That's just really fucked up.
That's my wife, Crone.
Hell, in real life, that spell on men is starting to wear off, and in fact, curvy or thick girls are a lot more accepted now, which is a wonderful thing and a good progression in society. Don't even get me started on Shell from Road to El Dorado, Santa Maria. But as much as boys have their enjoyments of the tale, for girls it's taken another turn. In the early days, the genre was defined as the Beast wanting to be accepted in society, but turned away by the judgment of others, only for one beauty to reach out and accept them, even risking their own rank in society to help them. This alone has taken several courses in direction in the cultural shift of the world in general. Probably the most famous being in the Hunchback of Notre Dame, when Quasimodo is tied down and tortured in the public square, and Esmeralda saves him from the torture. It shows that in the cruelest times, humanity can have a bit of a soft spot.
Don't be afraid. I'm sorry.
However, when society is too judgmental, it leads to another trope, the angry mob. Yeah, don't need to tell you guys on the internet about this given the amount of torches and pitchforks that are blown all over fucking Twitter. This is where the crowd is exposed to the Beast and the unbelievability of its existence, only bent on destroying what they don't understand in order to combat the harsh reality of the unknown and stay in their comfort bubble without any change. Wait, come to think of it, that might actually be Twitter. Its best representation is in the likes of Frankenstein, but the Beauty and the Beast genre also follows this tropes. Most notably in animated films like the Disney film, and even Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, which has some of the best jokes regarding that cliché.
Mob supplies! Get your angry mob supplies here!
I will never get over Granny with a chainsaw. Coming soon, from the makers of Hobo with a Shotgun, it's...
Granny with a motherfucking chainsaw!
A film by Quentin Tarantino. And speaking of gardening tools...
God damn it.
It bends both the Beast and Frankenstein with the film Edward Scissorhands. Not only my personal favorite Tim Burton film, but one of my favorite adaptations of the genre, and quite frankly, one of my favorite films. The Beast is less represented by facial features and more so on the hands of its character, making him much more cautious to be around despite his good-natured heart. It's like trying to hug a puppy surrounded by a wall of knives. You want to be around it, but at the risk of hurting yourself. Even going as far to see the darkness in the Beast being either used for exploitation of its features, or even worse, used as a weapon by the third act. And then there's this guy.
Who's that?
That's Jim. He's a dick.
I don't get why you give such a shit anyway.
I fucking hate Jim. This is the perfect version of the bad boyfriend cliche I have ever seen on screen. Starting out as a walkable person to be around, to ultimately being the true monster. He's like Gaston with the personality of Biff. It's just fucking great.
You can't touch anything without destroying it. Who the hell do you think you are even hanging around here anyway, huh?
And that final confrontation is as satisfying as the gods.
I wish we'd been taking that. I'd give my left nut to see that again.
But going back to the bad boyfriend cliche, it can also apply to more than just the straight-up villain for the Beast to fight. For women, it takes its own turn from the bad boyfriend to the bad boy. Yeah, y'all know this one with girls who are into the monsters because they not only sympathize with them, but feel a need to change them to become better people. It's a cliche that a lot have now taken from the most common was with the villains themselves, with Loki in the MCU, the Joker with Harley Quinn, and of course, the Twilight Saga with Edward and Bella. The Beast in this case being a vampire but suffering through hundreds of years, lingering through countless loved ones and suffering from immortality, only for one to finally be the one to end his pain. To be honest, this trope I found more common, believe it or not, in anime. Vegeta, Haku, Zuko, Sasuke. This trait of the Beast is something I see time and time again in anime entertainment, and it's no wonder why so many anime girls I see, cons and whatnot, go goo-goo over. It's a version of Beauty and the Beast that apparently clicks with the female audience and takes the author's original work into a totally different direction and lessons. It's not just a lesson in not being judgmental of a person's appearance, but to let the beauty take control of the situation and changing the Beast into something beautiful in themselves by removing their darker side. You see this in the likes of Bulma and Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. Even Game of Thrones did this in the first season with Daenerys Targaryen. And look how that ended up. She got fucking dragons! But I'd say the biggest franchise that took that direction is, of course, with Inuyasha. Here we have an outstanding fantasy anime series, not juggling one Beauty and the Beast story, but multiple, and not just in story, but in 5 separate beasts in total. The main focus, of course, is the romantic relationship between Kagome and Inuyasha, respectively. Here you see Beauty not seeing the Beast for his half-demon features, but for the painful history the world has dealt him, from losing his mother at a young age, never knowing his father, being rejected by his brother and society as a whole, and losing his first true love in a game of fate and death dictated by a Beast of far greater sinister intentions. And for that amount of personal damage, it takes actually 2 beauties to tame him, one of which being a key cause in his suffering. To be honest, it's pretty damn powerful stuff right there. The second being Sesshomaru, who while starting with an ego of a ruler actually begins to learn the value of human life from a young girl. It brings a lot of portion of the Beast character to protect as a parent to its beauty, who, if you talk to the fan base, is pretty damn skeptical still if Rin is even Sesshomaru's beauty. We already went through this in last month's episode, people! Now, Koga, being a beast that ultimately achieves his own beauty, in the early days is much more of a beast mixed with Gaston, a beast that uses its features as a form of power and dominance, but over time, Kagome as a potential beauty brings out his humanity a little. But the one who's the most fascinating beast is Naraku. This is a beast that stays a beast. It takes the characteristics of the genre and flips it on its head, allowing the monster to take full control of the situation, since Beauty did not accept him. While the choices are their own separate assets, it's interesting to see the story go in a much darker direction, making the beast ultimately the villain. The beast is ultimately the devil in this case. Much like another film adapted. Ridley Scott's legend, while being a fairy tale mixed with religious themes of Adam and Eve, also shows a lustful side of the story, with the Beast and Beauty seducing themselves into adulterated desires. While most focus on the love story, this one tackles the evils and consequences of such a union that I don't think others have adapted to retell. And with Inuyasha, it also goes that route, making it a major goal for the antagonist. His lust for Kikyo is not just to kill her, but to bind with her, the Beast forcing Beauty to be with him in order to cure him. But the main four are one thing. My personal favorite is more of a side story that only expands to one filler episode with the character of Jinenji. Now, while this character has shown up in later episodes, his first appearance perfectly displayed my favorite blends of the genre, with the Beast hidden from the darkness of society, having humanity judge him cruelly, and Beauty to order society to accept him, even down to fighting another monster. And while we've seen that cliche done time and time again with the likes of the Incredible Hulk, my favorite version of the Beauty and the Beast genre is when the Beast is a giant. Presumably, the eighth wonder of the world. Yep, no other version of this genre has, in my opinion, done it better than the films of King Kong. Now, while I love the films for its inspiration in filmmaking, the classic adventure qualities, and the special effects, for me, it visualizes the perfect adaptation of the beauty that charms and ultimately kills the beast. Now, in the original, the genre was obviously already a fairy tale in the pop culture of storytelling, but it becomes one of the many, if not the main theme of the story in every adaptation. Having been one of the main concepts Marion C. Cooper had when creating the story of this giant gorilla, I honestly don't know where that idea of the ape holding the girl sparked in his mind. But it was probably the stories of Equatorial Africa, books he read as a child, and the legends of gorillas carrying girls off into the jungle doing God knows what to them. But believe it or not, the ape being a beast predates Kong himself. Aside from the real-life myths of gorillas in Africa, the early days of film shipped girls with apes with exploitation films like Igangi, and most notably, a year prior to Kong, with Universal's 1932 underrated classic Murders of the Rue Morgue, starring Bela Lugosi. And don't worry, I'll talk about that movie in full someday. And as much as they are the originators, King Kong perfected it, and the Beauty and the Beast genre time and time again with each iteration. A while back, I wrote a piece on why King Kong and Inuyasha have the best fandoms, and despite it being two separate series with a good plan and creators at the helm, they both share one thing in common with this genre, and it's a storyline that I can watch over and over again with different twists and turns. So yeah, whichever version of the story you enjoy, the timeless tale of Beauty and the Beast ain't going nowhere anytime soon. It brings a lot of lessons and guides to life to the forefront, whether it being people not to judge someone for their looks, or to love what is ultimately true feelings for someone, either for friendship or romance, taking a life of its own, transcending from the original story and into a genre in of itself in almost every aspect of art, from the monster movies of old to King Kong, and yes, even with the tweeny vampire flicks, this genre holds a lot of cliches that I enjoy whenever it's displayed on screen. But as much as I explain my take, I want to know your feelings on the Beauty and the Beast genre. Is it a relatable genre, or do you find it a tiresome cliche? Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to continue this discussion and get feedback from the online community. So until the next video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. This is BigJackfilms signing off, saying Happy Valentine's Day, and maybe, just maybe, send someone some love today who could really need it. Priestess? これは夢ですか?
はい。でもそれは良い夢です。
Forgive me, my lady. I cannot call upon your presence to me if not for of importance.
I know why you have. You're in pain, despite your well-being.
Yes. No matter how much I keep it intact, this power, this curse, the beast inside me, it still lingers.
Do not be in despair with the depths of your pain. I cannot release you from it, but I can purify it.
Wakarimasu.
The time will come when out are in need of it. Until then, let me release you from its dark aura. You are stronger than you were before. I may not be of the world you live, but I am still here in your soul and mind, where I shall always be.
I swear to the last beat of my heart, I will not let our worlds fall. And when it's done, I shall return to you.
Don't come to me. I will see you in time. You still have much to see and do in your life. Live on, knowing you have me in your heart to protect you. Mozetsubo wa arimasen.